Ian Lees-Galloway.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. That was an interesting campaign speech from the National MP, Parmjeet Parmar, the presumptive National Party candidate for the Mount Roskill by-election. She hasn't been selected yet, but we all know she's been campaigning for quite a while. We knew that from an email from Nick Smith's private secretary, who said that Parmjeet Parmar was quite keen on using taxpayers' dollars to raise her profile in the Mount Roskill electorate, where there was likely to be a by-election at the end of this year. So we can be of no doubt that that was the opening of Parmjeet Parmar's campaign in the Mount Roskill by-election. She must be shaking in her boots. She must be shaking in her boots after last weekend, because let's face it, the National Party got smashed in Auckland. Absolutely smashed in Auckland. Now, we know that they gave up on winning the mayoralty months ago. They gave up on winning the mayoralty months ago, but a bit like the Republican Party in the United States, who have given up on the presidency, they thought they could save the council. I remember talking to a cabinet minister who was absolutely certain that the Auckland Council would have a majority of the National Party surrogate Auckland Future. Well, where is Auckland Future today? They got hammered in the Auckland City Council election. So Parmjeet Parmar and everybody else in the National Party must be very, very nervous about where National stands in Auckland. And after Phil Goff won that mayoralty with such a resounding mandate, what did John Key say? The arrogance of the man, that after that fantastic mandate that Phil Goff received from the people of Auckland, going out and saying that he wanted to deal with the housing crisis, that he wanted to fix Auckland's transport woes, that the government needed to address the challenges that the huge rate of immigration is putting on Auckland at the moment. When Phil Goff won a mandate on those issues, the arrogant Prime Minister said that Phil Goff had to shift and cuddle up to the National Party. Well, National, think about it. You have just been hammered in Auckland on housing, on transport, on incomes, on immigration. I think the National Party needs to realise that they are completely out of touch, not just with Auckland, but with the rest of the country, because let's face it, Labor did pretty well all around the country in the local body elections. National is out of touch with the people, and it's time they realise that they have to actually get perhaps a little bit closer to what Phil Goff was saying, not make Phil Goff come closer to them. Now, I know the National Party likes a poll, and they like to make their policies based on polling, and we've seen that in the last few days with immigration. Because after years of saying that anybody who even wanted to debate policy settings around immigration was racist and xenophobic, the National Party came out yesterday and told the country that they were going to reduce the number of people coming in through our immigration system. The problem was, of course, that they actually changed their policy in the one area that most New Zealanders aren't that concerned about, the permanent residency numbers. And what have they changed it by? A paltry amount that will actually result in a minuscule, if any, drop in numbers at all. But actually, that's not what we should be talking about. We should be talking about the bit that the National Party avoided altogether, and that is the abuse of the temporary work visa system to bring in people to do low-skill, low-wage jobs, because employers would rather bring people in from overseas than to pay decent wages and to provide decent conditions. Do you think I'm wrong on that? Let's look at the industries that are most reliant on temporary work visas. Forestry, farming, and fisheries. Do we really not have people in New Zealand who can work in our forests, who can work on our farms, who can work on our fishing vessels? What are the other areas? Hospitality. Have we really not got people in New Zealand who can be trained to cook a meal and to look after people when they come and visit New Zealand? Do we, and what's one of the other ones? Well, one of the other ones is administration. Administration is hugely reliant on migrant labour, people on temporary work visas. Can we not get people in New Zealand to work in administration? The reason New Zealanders are not participating in those sectors is because the pay is low and the conditions are bad. This government should be encouraging employers to improve pay, to pay people more, to give people better working conditions, and to make sure that they get basic things like having a written employment agreement. Because those industries that are most reliant on temporary migration administration are also the worst for actually adhering to their basic employment requirements. Sir, this government is out of touch. They got smashed on the weekend and they're going to get smashed next year too.
Mr. Speaker,